again. I've just got back from work. Oh, I am so done in with this physical job now, so I need to get this going. So today's subject, MSRA and the micro cleaning cloths. Now this is really, to me, this is bad. If anybody works in the NHS now and you do cleaning, can you please tell me, are you still using the micro cleaning cloths? So we're going to go back to the time when MSRA was in town. And if anybody remembers that, you'll remember they made a big song and dance about this on the news. And I worked in the hospital at the time as a domestic, and I was working on a ward, and I was given 3-4 hours a day cleaning, and it was usually a 6-hour shift, but I was covering for a lady who was off on long-term sick. But they didn't give me all the hours, so you can imagine I was already stretched with how much I could do in that time. So that wasn't a good start. But I started on the ward and I really enjoyed it. And I remember cleaning there. I cleaned at the hospital for a few years, and prior to the ward cleaning I did outpatients. So you would go to work when everybody else had gone home. And we always used disinfectant and hot water and colour coded cloths. So for example, if you were doing the bathrooms, you would use the red cloth and the red mop, and everything else was blue and green or yellow. So everything was colour coordinated, and then when you'd use the cloths you had to take them back in your wash bags, which were all put in separate, and then they would put all the red cloths in one bag and all the yellows in another, etc. And then the people in the laundry would wash them, and then you'd go and get your clean cloths the next shift and put them on your trolley. But we always had disinfectant and different cleaning products. Now, while I was working at the hospital, the MSRA outbreak came, and we all got told that this was a very dangerous thing and we need to be careful because it can kill people, and it can. And I'm like, yeah, I get that, I understand. And they said, so we're going to do this protocol, and we're like, fine. But they never followed it through. So what would happen is I would go into a ward, and this was a ward with 6 beds. And I'd start at one side and work my way around, and you used one cloth for all the worktops, and then one mop for that ward, and then you'd change the cloth and the mops. So everything was organised in such a way that you only did one ward at a time, but you used the same cloths. And what would happen, and this happened a few times, I would go past the nurse's station and say good morning to everybody, and they'd see me and go hello, and I'd say I'm doing this ward first, and they'd say that's fine. I'd start off on the bed by the door on the left hand side and work my way around, and then I'd come back to the end bed on the other side and come out of the door. And a couple of times as I was coming out of the ward, a nurse would come with a sign, with a red sign saying MSRA beware, and put it on the doors. And I'd say, what's that for? And she'd go, oh, someone's been diagnosed with an MSRA. And I'd go, I've just cleaned the room. And she went, I know. And I'm like, which bed has got MSRA? And she said, that one there on the left. And I said, so I have cleaned somebody's bed down and their side table and around the bed with one cloth, and then taken that same cloth all the way around the ward. And she went, right, okay. And I went, so haven't I just spread MSRA? And she went, oh, I never thought about that. And I'm like, oh my God. It was very dangerous. Now what's funny about the MSRA, all the cases that I saw who had it all caught it at the hospital. So how shocking was that? And I could tell you why on another whistleblowing out video, because I can't, it does my head in. But it happened again. I went on another shift, went to the nurse's station, hiya, I'm about to start, and they're like, oh hi, you alright? Yep, I'm going in this ward, right, okay. And they wait till I'm halfway around it. or I've done it all, and then tell me that somebody's got MSRA. So basically, in my mind, I am spreading it unwittingly around the ward. So I went to my manager with it, the cleaning manager, and I said, what can I do about this? Because they're not communicating with me until it's too late, and I don't want to be responsible. Shall I just use a different cloth per bed? No, because we're limited how many we have a day, right? You get given the exact amount of cloths and everything else. Right, okay. Did not agree with this at all, so they wouldn't give me more cloths and more cleaning stuff. Then one day, I went into work and they've called a meeting. And this is with the management downstairs, the cleaning contractors. So there were 2 sets of cleaners where I worked at the hospital. There were the new ones like me who worked for the cleaning company that were outsourced by the NHS. But you still had the original cleaners who worked for the NHS, and they were on a different pay scale to us, and they had a different deal, and they got a better deal than us. So we were basically put onto minimum wage, whereas they were on slightly more, and I think they had better deals with stuff. But this cleaning company said, we're doing some training today because we're changing how we run the cleaning. Bear in mind, this is during an MSR outbreak. So we're like, right, okay. So they said, we'll go into the training room and we'll see you in there. So we goes into the training room, and this guy comes along and he said, I've got some really good news for you girls. You don't need to use disinfectant anymore or hot water. How wonderful is that? And we all sat there looking at him like, eh? In a hospital? And he said, yeah, because there's this new thing and it's called the microfibre cloth. And what it does is it eliminates viruses, E. coli and all the germs from any surface. And you don't even need hot water. Just cold water, wipe it down. Isn't this wonderful? You'll have a red cloth for the bathroom. And I'm like, sat there like, no. And he said, what's the problem? And I said, a hospital. You've got to think about the psychology of cleaning. And people don't think of these tiny little things. When you go into a hospital that is cleaned properly, you see the cleanliness, but you also feel it. And he said, what do you mean by that? And I said, if you go into somebody's house that's spotless, they've always got some kind of fragrance, like you can smell the polish or the air freshener, or you can smell the cleaning products, you can smell the cleanliness. And it's a psychological thing. If a place smells clean, then in your brain it feels clean, and then you feel good about being there. But how can a microfibre cloth used with cold water eliminate odour? And he goes, well, we don't need to worry about that because we know it's clean. I said, but you don't understand what I'm saying. The cleanliness of an hospital is the smell of it. When you walk into an old hospital back in the day, you could smell the cleaning. You could smell the disinfectant down the corridors, and it made you feel like, oh, this is a nice, at least it's a sterile environment. But instead, you're telling us to take away the smell, so all that'll be left are the odours of the hospital. And he went, right. And I said, the hospital's full of decay, operations, people with bowel problems. It smells. So you need cleaning products. So we had a massive argument about it. And everybody was up in arms. All the old cleaners were up in arms because you've always used hot water, especially on the floor as well. When you're mopping the floor, you've got blood on it and everything. And people are always dripping body fluids on the floor in a hospital. So you want boiling hot water and cleaning products that are disinfectant. And he goes, no, all you need now is cold water and a red mop with a fibre mop head on it. And I'm like, no, this is not good at all. So anyway, this went on for about, I'd say maybe 4 weeks of doing this, and I just couldn't cope with the job because it was doing my head in, because psychologically I felt guilty, like I'm not cleaning properly now. If I do a job, whether it's cleaning, factory work, care work, it doesn't matter what job I do, I always give 100% no matter what. And I can't work any other way because it's my work ethic and I care about people. And if I'm doing something like that, I want to leave my job feeling satisfied that I've left the place clean and spotless and environmentally healthy for the people around me. And they were basically saying, let's not worry about that, because it was all about cutting back on money, you see, because the microcloths were very cheap. And if you're not using piping hot water and you're not using cleaning products, they were saving a lot of money. And I don't agree with it when it comes to public health. So I ended up leaving the job because of the dissatisfaction of it, because I just felt like I wasn't doing what I went to do there. And it was such a letdown for me because I loved the job and I loved the people, you know, the patients and stuff. Anyway, not long after I'd left, I still knew the people there. And one of the ladies spoke to me one day in town and she said, did you see what it said in paper? And I said, no. And she said, shortly after you left, on your ward, there was a guy who caught Legionnaire's disease in the shower, and he'd only gone in for an operation on his leg. It was something simple, but he had an open wound on it. And he got in the shower, and this was the day before he was going home, and he caught Legionnaire's disease, and he died, and he was in his 30s. And I felt absolutely sickened by that, and I said, that is just disgusting. Because one of the things that we used to do when we were cleaning is take the shower heads off. And I used to put the shower head in a bucket of like hot water with disinfectant in it to clean the shower head. And during the training we got told we didn't need to do that anymore because the microfiber cloth's so fantastic. You don't need that. And that man died. And I associate that with the lack of disinfectants and using those stupid cloths and cold water. We're going back a long time, MSRA, we're talking 20 years ago maybe, or 15, 20 years ago, whatever. But if anybody still does work for the NHS, can you tell me if the cleaning contractors in your hospital are still using the microfiber cloths? Because if they are, I don't feel that good about it, because I know they said it's been proven that they do pick up germs and everything, but I just can't get it into my head in an hospital environment that they're using things like that when people are getting really ill there, do you know? And I can tell you why people got MSRA. Because we used to go to work with our uniforms on. We used to walk around work with them on and then go home with them on. So we were doing all kinds of things wrong anyway. And then a lot of the cleaners didn't clean because they didn't want to, because not everybody has a work ethic. So there were some fantastic cleaners there, and there were those that couldn't be bothered. They just flick a cloth and then flick it here. If it looked clean to them, it was clean. Whereas me, I know that people are walking up and down the corridors all the time, and the floor needs to be sterile, you know, and I'm just like that. But not everybody's got a work ethic, and so when the MSRA thing came out, I thought it's no wonder people have got that. Because in the surgery, where you go in for operations in this hospital, they weren't even cleaning them properly. And one of the cleaners who came as a temporary cleaner from another hospital was sat with me one day, and she said, I am absolutely appalled at this hospital, because when I went in to do the theatre, we're supposed to put scrubs on and everything, because it's a different environment to a ward, and you've got to keep it dead sterile. And she said we just walked in with no gear on, just the normal clothes. And she said, and the bins are full of well, imagine all the things that get taken out of your body, all the body parts and that are all put into a bin which goes into an incinerator. And she said half of that was slopped all over the floor because they're moving it across and it's splashing everywhere. And the cleaners couldn't be bothered to do it, so they're just having a cigarette outside. And I was absolutely appalled, and I thought, no wonder people are going on the wards with MSRA, because they're catching it in the flipping operating theatre. And I put complaints in, because I am a whistleblower, And they're going, oh, no, 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 they do a good job. And I said, well, they clearly don't, because this lady's just outed them. And they're not wearing scrubs and stuff. They're supposed to put plastic pinnies on and gloves and all the rest, and there wasn't. So I'd like to know, is your hospital like this? Is it run poorly? Is it run well? I've just recently took Steve to hospital for an operation, and this is a really good one where we are here. And he went into the hospital for one day and they kept him in overnight. But as soon as I walked through the doors of that hospital, you could see the cleanliness and you could smell it, because you can smell that they are using disinfectant there. And everywhere I went in that hospital was absolutely immaculate. And while I was there visiting him, there were cleaners in and out constantly, up and down the corridors with the mops and brushes, and they were constantly cleaning. So it's not every hospital, but the one that I worked in was bad. And I'll tell you how bad it was. We got told that Princess Anne was coming to open the new part of the hospital because it was a new build. And so everyone's got to put the pristine uniforms. We all got new uniforms for this. They told me I wasn't invited to come because I am anti-royal. And I said, I'm not bowing to no one. So they said, you can have the day off. So I didn't have to see it. I won't pander to this. And what they did, they bought 2 lots of coaches in from 2 different hospitals and brought all their cleaners in for 2 weeks or 3 weeks prior to the visit, so we could do a massive deep cleaning scrub on this hospital. And I thought, that is just disgusting, isn't it? Because as soon as she's been and visited, it's just going to go back to normal, like we don't care now. So we only care if somebody official is coming to inspect it, and then rest of the time it doesn't matter. It's just not right. But I remember her coming and me saying, no, and they said to me, you can have a full day off on full pay. And everyone's going, that ain't fair, that ain't fair. And I was laughing. And they said, why can't we have a day off? And they went, don't you want to meet Princess Anne? Oh, yes, yes, we do. Oh, we love it. Well, that's why. So they kept all the all the lovers of the royals there. So they were all bowing and curtsying, and they kept people like me off.